Want to see more cool videos on our channel? We do, so press this bell and enable to send notifications.
It's true that the world is densely populated, but when it comes to a few places, there is total abandonment seen with some interesting story behind it. These abandoned places capture a sense of timelessness and a feel of people who used to live there. Imagine the scene from the movie I Am Legend, where Will Smith is roaming all over the city with his dog. For a moment, he appeared cool to have an entire city for himself, but of course, the sad part was that the entire world was killed by zombies. But the scenario of seeing a total abandoned place is something which might send chills down your spine. So we've brought you this top list of 10 abandoned places that really exist. Let's get started. Number 10. Cloud Chamber for the Trees and Sky. When you see it for the first time, this wonderful earthly abode looks like a hobbit home, straight out of fairy tales or sci-fi movies, but not quite so. This chamber was built by a British artist named Chris Drury, where the abode was supposed to work as a rustic camera obscura. When the doors of the cloud chamber are closed, the light passes in the house through a tiny hole in the roof, and this is when the camera obscura effect comes in. It is an impeccable ancient trick that projects the mirror image of the outside world on the walls of the house. You can get a beautiful insight of the clouds, trees, and also the blue sky while you're gazing at them from the inside. The difference is just that the images are upside down. Don't you think this is absolutely amazing? Let us know in the comments below. Number 9. Bat Tower. The next abandoned place on this list is called the Bat Tower. No, it's not the residential place of Batman. This unusual construction was built in 1929 by a real estate developer named Richter Clyde Perky, who also owned a fishing line at the Lower Sugarloaf Quay. But the area was infested with a lot of mosquitoes, and Perky wanted to do something about it since it irked his guests at the fishing lodge. Apparently, he had heard that bats prey on mosquitoes, so he constructed the Bat Tower to attract bats and give them a place where they can also feed on the mosquitoes. But unfortunately, not a single bat moved in since there were no bat colonies around the area until 1996. Although Perky should have done his research, the architecture of it is pretty interesting, isn't it? Number 8. UFO Home. Are you a fanatic of the UFOs? Do you gaze at the stars and think that we're definitely not alone in this universe? Then this mushroom house or alien house in Homestead, Florida will definitely pique your interest. There's an intriguing mystery when it comes to the origin of the structure. No one actually knows as to who built it or why they opted for this unusual design. But it's been noted that the building was constructed without any planning permission from the local authorities. Since 2013, the building has been marked for demolition, but even after so many years, the structure still remains. There are a lot of stories going around with regards to the owners of the place, where some say that the place was inhabited by gangsters. The earlier pictures of the house are seen from 1974, where futuristic home designs were popular in this part of America, but this UFO home is completely amusing and out of the blue. Number 7. Fairy Village. Did your bedtime stories comprise of listening to fairies and dwarves? Then you'll be all ears to know about this abandoned fairy village in Connecticut, and its site is nothing but jaw-dropping. Although the village is in ruins now, it stands in full view of a ginormous interstate highway, but no one actually knows that it's there. The village has tiny houses that have been carved to the side of a stone cliff. It once had an ornamental garden, but the flora and fauna took over the entire village. The local area has its own myths about the village, where they stated that the village was constructed by a woman who claimed that fairies in her garden were driving her crazy, so she built them a place to live. But it's more likely that the place is a roadside attraction for people to visit. So if you're thinking of visiting, make sure to exercise a little caution since the area has poison ivy in its flora. Who knows, you might actually find a fairy. Number 6. Igloo Shelters. There was a time when the Black Hills Ordnance Depot in South Dakota, about 8 miles south from the town of Edgmont, USA, was an important storage and maintenance facility for the United States Army Ordnance Corps. It was constructed in 1942 because of the increase in demand placed on ordnance by the country's active participation in World War II. Since the facility stands on a remote location, most of the people who worked there had to be stationed nearby. It's for this reason that a residential facility known as Igloo was constructed as abodes. Although the shelters look like basic concrete blocks, on the inside you'll be surprised to find a church, a hospital, a post office, a swimming pool and a theatre. The place actually has all the amenities to work like a proper town, but the area has more to its past. Post-World War I, the area was used as a testing site for many chemical weapons like mustard gas and sarin. By mid-1960s, the site was of no use and it was abandoned in June 1967. But recently, a private developer got his hands on several of the facilities and converted them into doomsday survival shelters. That's pretty intriguing, don't you think? Number 5. Radio Transmission Park. In the Netherlands, Radio Kootwijk is a vast radio transmission park that's actually a classified one. These gigantic transmitters used to be online in 1918 and were used as the main mode of communication between the Dutch homeland and the Dutch East Indies, a colony which is presently a part of Indonesia. Most of the site was damaged because of the bombing raid which took place in World War II, but it was reconstructed and the operations were continued until 2004, where it was completely shut down. Since then, most of the buildings at the site have been demolished, but Building A, also known as the Sphinx or the Cathedral because of its grandiose design, has not been demolished. The building is considered to be a national monument, and although it is abandoned, it's sometimes used as a film set. You can see a glimpse of the structure during the making of the movie Mine Hunters in 2004. Number 4. Home of Robin Hood. We've all grown up listening to the folklore of Robin Hood, where he robbed from the rich and gave it to the poor and needy. But the tale is not just confined to the pages of the book. Apparently, it's acclaimed that the home of Robin Hood stands tall at Sherwood Forest in Clipston, Nottinghamshire, England. But the forest isn't just the end of the story. There's also the abandoned Clipston Colliery headstocks, that is, 2 gigantic coal mine towers which can be seen from far, far away. History says these 200-foot-high towers were the main mining industry of the small village, but the coal mine is approaching almost 20 years of abandonment. Although the mine is closed, the towers have been given a Grade 2 listing by the UK government for its special historic significance. This means the giant headstocks cannot be torn down without giving a petition to the local authority. It's also been rumoured that the headstocks will be the centre of attraction for a new theme park, where a zip wire will be built between the towers. Now that's something to completely look forward to, isn't it? Number 3. Viking Village. If you've seen the series called Vikings, or you've watched animated movies of it like How to Train Your Dragon and Brave, then you'll be in love with the vibe of Vikings. What if I told you there's an entire abandoned village of Vikings waiting to be explored? That is the absolute truth and no fiction. The Viking Village exists in Hoffen, Iceland, and the story goes that this village was built for a movie, but later on, unfortunately, the movie got cancelled, and now the place has become a tourist attraction. The place has managed to provide a stream of income to the farmer whose land was used to build it. Viking Village is so realistic that for a moment you'll actually believe that you travelled back in time and have arrived at the era of the Vikings. There are not just houses, but also an eerie-looking dungeon which is hidden beneath an artificial boulder. Although not many people visit the area, the place has a small Viking-themed cafe for the tourists. What do you think about this place? Did it make it onto your list of places to visit? Let us know in the comments below. Number 2. Fukushima, Japan. If you're well versed with history, then you definitely must know about the nuclear disaster which took place in Fukushima, Japan in 2011. Not only was the power plant abandoned, but also the entire surrounding area. But since then, nature intensely took over the place, where foliage grew around immensely through the homes and facilities. The exclusion zone is said to be of 12 miles, where a lot of offices and homes stand empty. Thousands of cars have been stranded, never to be driven again. It's been opined that an approximate 160,000 people had to flee to save their lives when the disaster took place, and only 40,000 people were allowed to come back to claim their property. A lot of people agree that the place now looks exactly like a set from the popular TV show The Walking Dead. The radiation readings still are dangerously high, and it's likely to be this way for many more years. Well, this place only confirms one thing, that no matter how much you earn or how many assets you have, when a crisis hits you, all that matters is being with the people you love. Number 1. Miniature underwater city. Do you believe mermaids exist? Do you think they live in an underwater castle dreaming about the above world? Well, what was found in Cap d'Antibes in south of France was not an ancient mermaid castle, but apparently a miniature French town that has houses, church, an amphitheatre, and also a lawyer's office. Apparently, the underwater town was constructed between 1963 and 1965 by a French filmmaker that wanted to shoot a mermaid movie around it called L'Enfant et la Sirène, but it was abandoned since they considered making the movie into an animated one. Only a few people knew about the underwater city, but few divers discovered it back in 2007. Presently, you can actually take a visit to the city with the help of guiding tours for a nominal fee. The place is well worth seeing since the entire place is home to corals and fish. Would you dive in to greet your underwater neighbours? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button. Do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch up my next video.